first of all, David, if I could just ask you, I suppose people would say that this feels like a departure from many of your films. I just wondered whether the elements that attracted you to this story, to this script, are similar kind of elements that attract you to making any film, or does it feel, or does this feel like a departure for you?
Well, I sometimes have to remind people that the first film I ever made was called Transfer. It was a 7-minute short, and it was about a psychiatrist and his patient. So for me, this is, it's kind of business as usual. Of course, remember perhaps that Oliver Reed plays a psychotherapist in my movie The Brood, which was a long time ago. So this is, I really, when I'm making a movie, I don't really think about my other movies at all. They're totally irrelevant to me. I think really just about the movie that we're making, and I often think of it as the movie is telling me what it wants. It tells me what it needs, and I give it that, and I don't try to impose any preconceived ideas or presumptions on it.
Let me just move on to Christopher Hampton. Christopher, I mean, you've adapted your own stage work into film before. I just wonder, did you feel that a lot of changes needed to be made to your play, The Talking Cure, beyond opening it out for film in terms of exteriors and locations?
Well, this started life as a screenplay that nobody wanted to make. So that's at that point, some 10 years ago, turned it into a stage play. So I'd already, it was more, with the stage play, a question of closing it down rather than opening it up. And I was very much guided by David, who had read, the original screenplay and the stage play, which I think was more successful, really. So I think it's closer to the stage play than it was to the original screenplay. In fact, I know it is. And David was quite comfortable about. Some directors aren't very comfortable with scenes that run longer than a page. Anyway, that was the process.
I'd like to ask the two actors about portraying such eminent men and such distinguished men and men with such a sort of complex history. Viggo, would you like to just give that a shot? Did it feel daunting to take on Sigmund Freud?
It feels daunting. No, I don't. The fact that Freud, that there's a lot of material that he wrote and a lot of material about him, actually just made it easier. I was a little hesitant, as David knows, to say yes at first, because it seemed like, a big stretch in terms of my idea of what, from photographs, what he looked like physically, and my idea of him, it felt like it was a bit of a leap, and if it had been another director, maybe I would have said, no, I might have been more cowardly about it. But with David, I knew I would be in good hands with him and with his crew. I'd get to see Vincent Cassel again, and the fact that Michael was going to play Jung and Kira was in it, and then as I found out, Sarah Gadden, who plays Emma Young, was a really good actress as well. I mean, there were a lot of reasons, many more reasons to say yes and take the plunge than not. And it was an education. It was an education as to, in terms of acting, using different tools, speaking a lot more, speaking really well-written words. Christopher's script is, it's like a very well laid out, well manicured garden with very exotic blooms in the shadows of which are really disturbing little creatures and secrets. I mean, it was a lot of fun to play as an actor, and the fact that the characters speak so much. I don't usually get a chance to do that, even in David's movies. For once, he couldn't tell me to shut up all the time. I had to speak. So no, we had a lot of fun. It was, I mean, David's sense of humor seems to me not unlike Freud's and his kind of wit, his intelligence. I mean, I think that you could say about David what the New York Times said about Freud shortly after he died, which was that he was the most effective disturber of complacency in his time, and I would say David's right up there, maybe with Noam Chomsky. I don't know. So anyway, we had a good time. We had a few laughs along the way. Michael, maybe you can fill you in about that.
Michael, how about you and Mr. Young? Tell us about that.
Well, like Viggo said, it's always easier if there's information available to you, and there's a lot in both characters. And then, you deal with it, and, that's the sort of fear element, that there is somebody that has a sort of very passionate and vocal following and loyal. So, you want to do justice to the character, you want to sort of, do justice to David and to Christopher's script. And it's kind of, echoing a lot from what Viggo said, as well. The main thing for me was to tackle, the very eloquent, muscular piece of dialogue, which sort of is I sort of tried to treat it as a piece of music, and so I spent a lot of time with the text, trying to sort of, get the rhythms and find the different rhythms and just get a real sort of power over the dialogue, because, again, we're dealing with a period in time when, discourse, especially in the academic world, this was, it's a weapon. And if you're not in charge of it, then you're going to get destroyed. So that was an element that needed work. And then, you just sort of put it all together and see what you come up with. I think what's interesting when you're dealing with like real heavyweight characters like this, real revered characters, that you find out that there's human beings underneath there that have egos and have very sort of basic and obvious flaws, and to play with those elements is also fun.
Thank you.